Hey guys, what's going on? Jordan Connect here with another episode of Embrace the Chase. And I'm really excited because we are on episode 53, and we are blessed, humbled, and honored to have PJ Dixon on with us today. And PJ is the love guru, but most importantly, he is the founder of PJ's Wisdom, where his whole goal in life is to just empower people and let them know that not only do they matter, but their dreams and everything that they have, they can accomplish. And I'm just super pumped to have him on today. He's got some really cool projects in the works that are going to be released here shortly, and we're going to have him talk about it today. PJ, is there anything else you'd like to add, sir?
I've had a really good life. Your audience isn't going to probably know just by looking at me that I have a very rare form of muscular dystrophy that was expected to take my life at the age of 12. And when there were only at the age of 7. But obviously I'm still around, right? 42 years longer. I've lived 42 years longer than I was expected to. And my disability is so rare that when I was 12, there were 25 people in the world that had what I have. And again, I say had what I have because I'm not supposed to have made it this long. I've lived an amazing life, jump out of planes, indoor skydive, water ski, aqua jet packing, hike with my friends, climbing the Grand Canyon, 10th degree martial arts, black belt. So I've had an amazing, amazing life so far.
I love it. I love it. For those of you who have been to Thrive, or those of you that are wanting to go to Thrive this year, PJ is a Thrive alumni. He spoke on stage last year, and when I was there, he was hands down one of my favorite speakers because he just has a gift to relate with people, to connect with people, and he's powerful, absolutely powerful. But PJ, if you could kind of start us all from the very beginning, what led you to want to become a speaker and obviously start PJ's Wisdom?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? Because sometimes your life just falls into place, and it's as if the universe says, this is the direction you're going to go. So I don't know what your audience is like, whether or not they're particularly spiritual or not, but I have always been spiritual since I was a little kid. And so when I was little, I was 4 years old, and I was standing outside the gate, holding on to the gate, watching my friends jump. I'm going to move around a bit because I like to stay alive, right?
I love it. Go for it.
Wheelchair in the background, right? I was 4 years old, and with my little fingers sticking through the fence and my little eyes and nose looking through the gate, at my friends climbing on the bus to go to school. And I was like, I want to go to school too. And my mom took me to the doctor, and my disorder is congenital, which means I was born with it. Okay. So my mom took me to the doctor at 4 years old and said, can I send my son to school? And the doctor said, if you send your son to school, he will die by 7. He will die by 2nd grade. Okay. Because they thought that because of my disability, I didn't have the high enough level of an immune system. And sure enough, I was in and out of the hospital probably, I think one of my counts was like 17 or 18 times by the time I was 12. And so I went to school at 5 years old and was mainstream. I was one of the very first disabled kids in the United States to be mainstreamed. And so when I turned 7, the Muscular Dystrophy Association found me. Apparently, I was a cute little kid. They invited me to come and do a couple of talks at some fundraising events. I did pretty well. They liked me. They invited me to come back. And my career as a speaker started literally when I was 7 years old. So from 7 on up till now, I've been speaking my entire life. And so I fell into that. And at this point, Jordan, I don't know anything different. Like, this is what I do best. You put me up on stage, and all of a sudden I turn on. But if you ask me to work on some technology or some computer stuff or what, I'm like, oh, okay, and I'm slow and I trip and but I figure it out. I'm relatively smart. But for me, I was born to be like this, inspiration, this motivation, this actor, this performer, this person that draws out the best quality in you. Because when you look at me, if you could actually see me like these, I don't know if your people are going to be able to see me or not. You can see I'm kind of moving. Funny, I hope I don't pull my headset off. So you can sort of see, if I'm moving here, this is me forward and backwards. That's the curvature of my spine, right? The back of my wheelchair is it's 2 feet from my back. So if you can't see me right now very well, think about it like this. You're sitting in a chair, and your belly button is resting on the chair between your thighs, and then you curve your back forward and up so your shoulders and head are upright. That's what I look like. I'm a funny looking little dude. And I tell you this because because I look so funny, because I'm a tiny little guy, I'm literally, hey, Leon, thank you. I just listened to your interview. Because I'm a tiny little guy, people, and I don't stop and I keep moving, right? And I still push a manual wheelchair. People are like, wow, that's like inspirational. So I realized young that my life, my disability was not a gift to me necessarily as much as it was a gift to other people. So for me, when people are like, you know, tell your story, what, like, how did you get here? I'm like, when I get up on stage, like, I don't typically want to tell my story. I typically just want to teach you something because I want to up level your life. I want to help you pour into you everything that you want to be so you can be the best version of you that you can be. And people have lately been like, for the past couple of years, tell your story, tell your story, tell your story. And I was like, man, I grew up telling my story. Like, there's no story. I'm just a dude, right? And people are like, do you not know that you're disabled? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in a wheelchair. Somebody help me. Right? I don't really think about the disability. I think about what do I want and how am I going to get there? Right? And that's what's most important. What do you want as an audience? Who, where, and how are you going to get there? How are you going to climb over that obstacle, dig under it, go around it, blow it up, ask for support? It's not about the obstacle itself because the obstacle is not before you. The obstacle is within you. The obstacle is within your mind. The obstacle is your thinking. So my disability inspires other people, and I envelop and embrace embrace the chase. I embrace my disability because it's a benefit to other people and it creates a challenge in me to drive me forward and not quit.
I love it. So obviously helping people overcome the obstacles in their life, but what led you to, and I'm sorry if I'm not phrasing this properly, but what led you to want to
say whatever you want, brother.
What led you to want to go into becoming a love guru and to be a relationship kind of coach? And then once you kind of tell that story, what are things that you've learned over the years being a relationship coach that you see as some of the biggest obstacles that people let inside them prevent them from going after their dreams or becoming greater?
Sure. So help me remember the second question in case I forget it.
Sure.
So what led me to want to become a love guru? So I was completely debt free and life was good. And I was, I just bought my first house and this was like 3.5, 4 years ago, something like that. And one of my really good friends said, hey man, I'm going to go to this event over in San Diego with Nick Unsworth. Do you want to go? It's sort of this entrepreneur, like motivational, conference kind of thing. He's like, you want to go? And I was like, yeah, man, I love that kind of stuff. I'm totally in. Well, my mind was like, look, I'm debt free. I'm not spending any money. I'm not doing this. I'm going to go. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to meet some new people. It's just going to be fun. I'm going to San Diego. And I get there and Nick, and I've never seen Nick at this point. My friend sent me a bunch of clips and, Facebook posts. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll look at that. I didn't look at any of it. So I got there, I had no clue until somebody's like, Nick Unsworth, and he came out on stage. And so he came out on stage, and after, 2.5 days, Nick stood on stage and he said, do you want to be where you are right now in a year from now? And I was like, man, I've been speaking my whole life. And the thing is that I'm speaking as sort of a secondary thing. I've never had that knowledge on how to jump out and actually do it on my own. So I've had this corporate job, and all corporate jobs that I've had, whether they were nonprofit or corporations or any kind of additionally speaking gigs, they've always been corporate training, right? They've always been training and facilitation. So I've always been speaking. Every job I've ever had has been speaking. And so I was like, you know what? I don't. And a year from now, I want to be making money speaking. That's where I want to be. That's what I want to do. And so I was like, boom, I dropped my $15,000 and I sat down with Nick for the next year. And the first time I sat down with him, he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, and I was sort of getting into this thing where I was really getting heavily into spirituality. And it was becoming a real foundation for me. And so I was narrowing this wide range of topics that I was talking about. I was narrowing it down. I can't move my arms. So if you see me move my shoulders a lot, in my mind is using my hands and my arms, right? So I'm like all kind of weird, so I was narrowing down my scale of vision. And what I was narrowing it down to was I wanted to be a spiritual teacher, and I've wanted to be a spiritual teacher since I was a boy. People used to say, PJ, you should be a teacher. And my mind would say, yeah, but not that kind of teacher. Like, I didn't want to be a math teacher. I didn't want to be an English teacher. I didn't want to be a science teacher. But I didn't have words for I wanted to be a spiritual teacher, because my entire life has been about spirituality. I wasn't raised in the church, the synagogue, the temple, or the mosque. I was just raised as a normal little boy, right? But spirituality has always been a part of my own heart, my own soul, my own thinking, my own mind, my questioning about life ever since I was little. And so I always thought, I wanted to be a different kind of teacher. I just didn't have words for it. So Nick sits me down. He's like, okay, what do you want to do? We talk, right? Like 4.5 hours in, and he goes, oh my God, I know what you should do. You should be like this love guru and help people learn to like find love and get married and improve relationships. And I was like, he's like, can you do that? And as an entrepreneur, you say yes, right? And I was like, yeah, of course I can do that. Like, because I've done that before. I've literally been the love guru for my friends for most of my life, since high school. I've always been the one that people have come to me to talk about their relationships. So it's always been, in fact, my mom used to talk to me about that when I was younger. Right. So my entire life has been about this kind of thing, about coaching people and inspiring people and listening to people and helping people take that next step. So when Nick said, can you do this? I said yes. And so I spent about 3 years really developing my relationship, refining how I help people with their relationships and helping couples with their relationships. I spent that same period of time really developing my coaching skills and practicing listening. I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, but I'm a really good listener, but I'm also a really good talker. And sometimes I'm a little bit out of balance. So I get, this opportunity over these 3 years to really learn to ask different kinds of questions and start to listen deeper and listen more with my heart and soul. So what happened was I started to refine this process. And right from the very beginning, Nick started calling me the love guru. And everybody was like, that is perfect for PJ, because what they say is that when I show up, they just feel like they're loved. And that means so much to me, because to me, there's not much higher in the world than love, right? One of my spiritual teachers, Muji, when asked, Muji, is God love? Muji said, and you got to think about Muji as like, he's this Jamaican guy, right? Big dreads, a little portly, salt and pepper beard, mustache. And, he's sitting up on that dais in the seat, and you think, oh, this is the spiritual guru. And they said, Muji, is God love? And Muji said like this. He said, where I have been, there is nothing. Love is the fragrance that emanates from the divine. What? Oh, my God. I'm sold. Yes, that is juicy and delicious. Listen to that again. Love is the fragrance that emanates from the divine. Oh my God, I just melt just to say the words, let alone to think it. Like, I am full on love, brah. Like, that's just my way. Like, I'm about loving anybody and everybody. If you're hurting, if you're suffering, if you're sad, I'm the man to be there for you, because I want you to know that even if I don't know you, I've got mad love for you. So that's, I've always been like that. That's the way I was raised. That's the way I was born, and my mom raised me to be that way. I've always just been a little lover. And then Nick labeled me that, and it immediately caught like wildfire. It immediately caught like wildfire and spread really across the nation, and then very quickly across the world, as many summits and podcasts as I've been on. And so now I'm affectionately referred to as the love guru. And I love that. And yet that is not what defines me. And so this is what's really important, Jordan. I said yes, and I expanded and I grew and I learned and I helped and I changed lives and I inspired people and I helped them learn to love themselves. And yet that was just a piece of me. But I had refined myself down to confined. Let me change that. I had confined myself to just this concept of just the love guru, and then even more subtly, the spiritual teacher. And yet I had forgotten about everything that was out here, the physical, the intellectual, the emotional. And so recently, all of a sudden, I've been having these spiritual epiphanies, probably associated with a meditation gong I'm doing, 100 days of meditation. So each day I'm meditating for minimum an hour, and it's often rolling over into an hour and a half. And then I'm doing a Facebook Live right after, which is super cool, because I'm going into my meditation having no clue what I'm talking about on Facebook Live. I'm coming out of my meditation having no clue what I'm going to talk about. Sometimes so blissed out that I'm like, hello, man. I know you probably think I'm high, but I'm really not. I'm just blissed out right now, And so I'm all like, like kind of stoned to the Jesus belt like that, you know, all crazy. And but what's beautiful is, Jordan, the truth is emerging from me, that the love guru, spiritual teacher, is only a small component, a piece, a part of who I am. It is not the all of who I am. So this crazy energetic guy right now and the crazy energetic guy you saw on Thrive stage, that's actually me, because it encompasses more. That's the energy I like to live with. That level of energy is inspirational and encouraging, and it creates a manifestation in our lives, because I then manifest that energy within me. Then you get inspired, manifest that energy in you, and that level of energy goes out and ripples out and then brings things back to you. You become a greater gravitational pull for the lifestyle that you actually want. When I realized that, it was because of a spiritual epiphany that I had, and boom, all of a sudden there was this huge expanse and this awareness of the presence. And I've had spiritual experiences in the past and a lot of visions, but this one, boom, I expanded out and I was the presence. And I've been the presence before, but it was a different experience. It was just seeing in the awareness of the expanse. But now what I'm feeling and experiencing is the presence inside of me, right? I am literally under and within the authority of the divine, that creator, that energy source, that godliness, right? And so the presence that I now feel as I move and I speak, boom, that encompasses everything. Everything before me, everything behind me, above me, below me, within me, and everything pours into me and everything pours out of me. So now when I need to be spiritual, I can come into this space and be here for somebody. When I need to be quiet, I can be quiet. But when I need to be explosive, I can be explosive, because now I've liberated myself. I've set myself free, just like I define it like this. You are separate from me only so far as the surface tension around your body defines you as Jordan, right? And it's exactly like a water drop. If I have two water drops on the table next to each other, the reason that they are not one is because the surface tension keeps them separate, right? And so it's the belief that they are separate. It's the belief in the surface tension. It's the belief that there's an inside and an outside. But if I take a needle and I drop that needle right into the middle of one of the droplets, it doesn't change its shape or its consistency or its integrity. But if I drag that needle from one drop to the other and I just create a bridge, boom, they grow together and there is one. And this is the way of life. And so the presence now, through these meditations that I've been experiencing and practicing, and I've been practicing meditation since I was 19, literally like 30 years. 30 years? Yeah, 30 years. Okay. I've been practicing meditation for 30 years. And I've only recently been dropping so deep that I'm losing myself regularly. And what I'm realizing is that there's no separation. There's no distinction. There's only unity and oneness. There is only the isness, the amness, the everythingness, the presence, the energy source that everything is built on. Everything in the universe, including our conversation, the rock outside, your body, the wind, everything is energy. That means that energy is pure potential. And when you open up, you start to realize that that energy pours into you, and that energy is the presence, because it is alive, it is breathing, it is conscious, it is aware. And that is the beginning stages for self-realization and enlightenment. And this is beautiful and profound and important for people to realize, because I am no longer saying, I want this. I'm now saying, we want this. And when I say we want this, yes, there's still a two-ness there, a me and the divine energy, right? But when I say we creates a unity and a oneness. And when I say we, I now have that power to move forward. There's never any fear. When I say we, there's nothing but pure potential. When I say we, there's nothing but abundance. When I say we, I know it will happen and become, because this infiniteness, I'm just going to say God. Every time I avoid saying God, and please don't think I'm being religious. Everybody's like, put on the brakes. God's a Jesus freak. That's not what I'm saying. I am a very spiritual guy. But again, remember, I wasn't raised in the church, the synagogue, the mosque, or the temple. Okay. And I was a religion major in college. So I can speak any of the languages. They all speak to my soul. But I'm going to say God for lack of a better word. Okay. So when I say we, it's me and God. And if you look at the universe as abundant, the universe is pure abundance. And that's all that the universe is: pure, profound potential. Just abundance to become and turn into anything. And so what I realized recently is, just like that surface tension on the water droplet, and an epiphany and a vision that I witnessed and experienced, all of a sudden this surface tension on the outside of my body that was PJ dissipated, and all of the universe poured into me, and I poured into all of the universe, and there was only this oneness of abundance pouring into me and pouring out of me, and there was only abundance. There was no scarcity of resource, scarcity of creativity, scarcity of money, scarcity of love, scarcity of anything. There just was pure abundance and flow. And this is where I stand now, in this state of awareness. And so the other night, I came out of my meditation, I turned on Facebook Live, and I said, okay, what do I want to talk about? Because I come out in this, sorry, I'm just rambling. I'm not rambling. I'm just like, I'm on a roll. I'm like a little kid running down a hill. And when you're running down a hill, you can't stop, right? And so I'm almost done, peeps. Hang on with me, okay? So I came out of my meditation a couple nights ago. And as I came out of my meditation, this is something that's been pretty regular. I came out of my meditation, I typed up all the Facebook Live stuff, and I leave a blank space for what the title of my talk is going to be. And I sat there and I thought, what do you want me to talk about? What are we going to talk about? And what came to me, give me a sec, I forgot what it was. Oh my God, I forgot my whole point. So in essence, I can't remember what I titled it, but in essence, what came to me was this awareness and concept of being authentic about, what are you going to do when you actually get what you really want? What are you actually going to do when you get what you want? Hear that again, people. What are you going to do? What are you actually going to do when you get what you want? Because many times you get what you want and you sabotage it. Many times you get what you want and you reject it and deny it. Many times you get what you want and you find a way to deny it and say, no, thank you, I don't deserve it, right? And so I have since I've been a boy, I've said I wanted to be a spiritual teacher. And what I realized was I started tripping over my tongue because I started thinking about some of my audience that was listening, thinking, oh, well, maybe they're not particularly spiritual. So when I want to say God, maybe I should be talking about the universe and talking about universal theory, field theory, and string theory so that I can encompass and include everyone. And I realized that when I did that, I tripped over my own tongue. And it's not a language that I can't speak. It's just there's more words to say all of that than just to say God. And it doesn't have to be God like this Christian God that is, sitting on the throne and exclusionary and all. It's not that. God is just pure potential energy. And actually, God is before that, right? God is before that. So creation and consciousness came from that, right? So my point is that what are you going to do when you actually get what you want? What happened is I tripped and fell on my face. And I realized, I was like, why am I tripping? And I stopped the Facebook Live. I didn't stop it. I stopped in the middle and I said, you guys know what? I'm tripping over my tongue because I'm finally getting what I've always said I wanted. The spiritual teachings are coming out of me. And since these spiritual teachings are coming out of me, instead of letting them flow, I've started to make an effort to now restrict their flow. And then all of a sudden, they're not authentic anymore. They're not true. And so I'm just going to open up. And when I need to say God, I'm going to say God. And if you want to think universe, think universe. And when I want to say universe and you want to think God, think God. When I say universe, it doesn't matter. Because there is no real difference in separation, because there is nothing in the universe that is not God. That means you are God. I am God. Because nothing existed before that. And if you want to come from the Big Bang, there's nothing in the universe that is not energy. And everything you are is energy. So, if I take a cup of water from the ocean, it's still ocean water. It just happens to take the shape of the cup. And if I pour it into an ice cube tray, it takes the shape of an ice cube tray. And if I pour it into a mold with a funny little shape, it takes that shape. And that's all you are, is the divine expression that looks like Jordan, the divine expression that looks like PJ, the divine expression that looks like anybody, right? That looks like your dog or a tree. It's all just God. It's all just energy. And boom, bro, there's nothing more. And I'm not like, look, I'm not proselytizing, asking anybody to believe a particular religion or even drop their science mind for spirituality, because what I want you to realize is everything is woven together as one. And that presence that I spoke about before infuses my being, as if between every cell and within every pore of my being and body, I feel the infusion of energy. And that's where I'm coming from. That's the life that I'm living. That's my power. That's my strength. That's your power. That's your strength. We're not stuck in our head unless you're stuck in your head. But that's not the real truth. That's a limitation. And there is no real limitation to the universe. There is no real limitation to energy. Energy can be created into anything. Anything. So there you go. Boom. Mic drop.
I love it, PJ, man. You're just on fire. You made a lot of good points
I'm super excited.
You are super excited, and I want you to keep going. I actually have a follow-up question.
Yes, good. I'm gonna disappear from the screen for a minute because I'm gonna get a drink, but I'm gonna be right here. Go.
Sure. Yeah, so C.S. Lewis talks about how people that did not grow up around God eventually will end up discovering that there is either, like you said, God or our supreme creator, only because they will see it in nature. They will see the divine creator in nature. So I have a follow-up question for you on that, because spirituality, and even you said to avoid religion, but I'm just going to kind of lump the two together per se.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
Spirituality and all that is scary for people. Let's just be honest. It's terrifying. So like Ty Lopez says, health, wealth, love, and happiness are his 4 things. Tony Robbins talks a lot about spirituality, but how does somebody enter into that, PJ? How does somebody, as Psalms 46:10 says, be still and know that I am God? How do people actually slow down and actually sit there and get into a state of meditation? Because I can go take courses on business. I can go take courses on how to have better health and get muscular and get in super great shape. But how does somebody actually meditate? You talk about meditating for an hour and a half, but what does that mean? How does somebody do it?
Yeah. Oh, man. So, dude, we could go so freaking deep right now. Okay. So
go for it.
First, the fact that you're saying be still and know that I am God is really valuable and important. Okay. And so exercising the religion associated with that and just taking the concept, be still and know that I am God. When you say this to yourself, when you say, you calm and quiet the mind and you breathe in, and I'll talk about that in a minute how, okay? But if there's a calmness that's falling over you as I'm speaking, and you're feeling that, breathe in just as you breathe in, right? And as you breathe in, you exhale and you start to relax a little bit. And you think to yourself, be still, as if you're saying it to yourself, as if you're lovingly, gently, graciously touching your own face and looking into your own eyes and talking to the part of you that's in chaos and that's in agony and that's in turmoil and that's struggling and that's suffering. But the part of you that's not in that turmoil or that chaos or that struggle, that's in that state of peace or bliss, touches the face of that which struggles inside of you and says, be still and know that I am God. And what it's saying is, know that I, the peaceful part within you, is the divine, because the rest is just chaos. And it's that peaceful state that allows you to be aware of the subtle movements. So Jordan, if you were unpracticed in taking somebody's pulse and I put you into a nightclub with boom, 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 music going on, right? Do you think that you would be able to accurately get a pulse count on somebody?
Pretty difficult.
Pretty difficult, right? But if I took you outside, or we put you into a very quiet room, right, and everything, and you seem pretty peaceful, right? Do you think that you would be able to acquire the pulse better?
Of course.
Okay. So this is the same when you still your mind, the chaos being the club, the stillness being a sanctuary of sorts within your body or being, inside your body, brain, or being. And that's when you feel that pulse, that call, that energy, that vibration, that vibrancy within your being. And when you feel that, what it feels like initially is an energy that is in your body. Not just inside where the bones are, but inside even where the skin is, inside where the pores are, inside between the space of the cells, inside between the space of the atoms, right? Inside between the parts of these atoms that are even smaller, the nucleus, the protons, and the neutrons, electrons, and protons, right? And so you start to feel this energy, but you don't feel that until you become still, okay? And there's a difference between silence and stillness. And many people can get to a place where they can get their mind to be quiet, but not still, okay? Quiet just means that your mind is just not racing as fast. thoughts are still arising, and then they're disappearing, and then they're arising. It's like they're whispering. They're like a spring breeze versus constantly chattering and interrupting each other. Well, always got to go now, and then we have to do this, and what about the grocery store? I can't do this, and then we got to go here. Right? That's the normal chaos of our minds, where it's constantly interrupting itself. So, how do you enter that state of spirituality? How do you find that space of stillness? I am a big proponent of meditation. So many people want to argue that there are obstacles to them entering meditation. Well, I just can't sit that long. So then don't sit, walk. Well, but I mean, how can I meditate and walk at the same time? Well, you can, but let's come back to sitting. Can you sit comfortably in a chair? Yeah, of course. Okay. Then that's all I need you to do. Well, what if I sit there in the meditation in the chair and I start to squirm? Well, hardcore meditation teachers would say fight through the struggle, and I would say let's not start there. Let's be accessible. If you're uncomfortable, shift your leg. But as you shift your leg, keep your mind focused on what you're consciously choosing to be focused on. Some people want to be consciously focused on a mantra. Be still. Know that I am God. And remember, you're saying it to yourself, not saying it as if God were saying it to you, but rather saying it to yourself. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. Know that I am God. Be still. Know that I am God. And if I need to move my leg, I move my leg. And then I keep going with the mantra. Where is my concentration? Is it in my leg? Is it in my pain? Or is it in my mantra? Right? And some people don't like mantras. What they want to do is they want to get their mind quiet. So then you can focus on your breath. Right? So I focus on my breath. I breathe in, I pause. Breathe in through my nose, I pause. I breathe out through my mouth, I pause. And I repeat the cycle in through my nose, pause. Out through my mouth, pause. And sometimes people go, yeah, but my mind wanders off. And I say, have you ever seen a children? Have you ever seen a children? Have you ever seen a children? Because that's good English. Have you ever seen a child? Got to get a drink, hold on.
Kim just wrote, I'd love to knock down that quote line by line. Kim, if you could write a comment again and say which quote you're talking about, because it may let PJ go on another tangent, which would be
please. Okay, so back to the meditation. So breathing in through the nose, pause, breathe out through the mouth, pause. Okay, repeat this cycle. Right? Now some people go, my mind wandered off, and I say, have you ever spent any time with a little child, like maybe 3 years old, 2, 3 years old? Yeah, of course. Have you ever spent time with a little child outside or at a park? Yeah, of course. Do they ever try to wander off? Yeah, of course. Do you go and abuse the child and reprimand the child? Or do you go and put your hand on the baby's back or grab their hand and say, hey, baby, come this way, and just bring them back into the yard? You go, hey, baby, come back in and let's go play over here. You just redirect them. So once you realize your mind has wandered off and you go, oh, crap buckets, my mind wandered off. Rewind. Don't even say the crap buckets part. Just go, oh, my mind wandered off. Cool. Come back. Be on point. Oh, my mind wandered off. Come back to my breath. My mind wandered off. Come back to my breath. It's like a dance. Right? The path is not being present. The path is not being in the presence. The path is not the state of alignment. The path is returning to the presence. When you're off path, you go, oh, I'm off path. You return here. It's the returning that's the actual path. Okay? Because every major spiritual teacher has said they try to explain it to you, but they're really just pointing, saying, go that way. Right? And what they're saying is return to this path, return to that focus. So you come back to your breath. And every time you may stay with your breath a little bit longer. Another option is you can make an effort to count your breath. Every breath inhale is 1, out finishes that 1. So in is 1, out is the complete cycle of 1. But if you breathe in and your mind wanders off, when you exhale, you have to, that's not 1. When you have to count 1 again. And as long as you get 1 all the way in, no distracted mind, and exhale all the way out, no distracted mind, that's 1. And you do the cycle as often as you can, right? And every time your mind wanders, the crap buckets come back to 1. And then another way of meditating, and this will be the final, it's not the only way, but there, I'm giving you 3 or 4. And I want to make a note, right? I want people to realize like how I started like amped up and excited, because that's who I am, but look who I am now. See, this is me also. And this is where I was living in this state, but I was denying the enthusiasm for everything else for quite a while. And enthusiasm comes from en theos, which, if I remember correctly, is Greek, and it means in or full of God, right? And so that enthusiastic way I was being is definitely part of me, and it's definitely who I love to be most of the time. But this space that I'm in right now, where I'm in this state of peacefulness and bliss, and I'm beginning to feel the presence infused within me, this is also profoundly who I am. Consider it the depth of who you are. And so the last way is pretend you're standing on the side of a road, and a car goes by, and another car goes by, and another car goes by. The cars driving by are thoughts that rise up in your mind and then fall out of your mind, and you watch another one come up and go, another one come up and go, several come by, several go by, right? But the problem is, so many people have this superpower that as soon as the car goes by or the thought rises in their mind, they run super fast, jump in the moving car, and drive off with it. So same with your thoughts. As soon as the thought rises, you get trapped by it. You're like, oh, what's that thought? And all of a sudden you ride that wave of the thought, because the subconscious mind has taught your conscious mind to be attentive. So instead of the subconscious mind being attentive to your conscious mind, meaning the subconscious mind being the child and the conscious mind being the parent, in this case, it's the other way around. The subconscious mind, the child, has taught the conscious mind to be subdued. And so the conscious mind is subdued and is at the mercy of the chaos of the subconscious mind. And it's actually supposed to be the other way around. The subconscious mind actually does anything and everything that the conscious mind tells it to do. But in lack of the conscious mind taking conscious and intentional control, the subconscious mind will act like a child that doesn't have any good discipline from its parents and run rampant and out of control. So what happens is that car goes by, or that in meditation, that thought arises and you get stuck on it, and you ride that wave of the thought all the way out until the next wave picks you up and it takes you all the way and you go. But instead, in meditation, what happens if you say, you know what, I'm just going to watch my thoughts. You sit there in meditation, you come to this quiet place, you're breathing in through your nose, pause, breathing out through your mouth, pause, repeating this cycle. And I'm being very basic about meditation. I'm not being formal at all. But you're just breathing in through your nose, pause, out through your mouth, pause. And if you say, okay, I'm just going to watch my thoughts, you'll watch thoughts rise, and you take curious interest in them. You just watch them. And then when you watch the subtle rising of another, you go, oh, wow, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, look at that one rise. Oh, then there's that one. So what happens is now you stand on the side of the road and you go, oh, blue Ford. Oh, green Toyota. Oh, look at the neon. I don't even know what color that is. And then you look at another car and then, oh, that's a truck. You just watch them go by. You don't get in any of them. You don't have to ride every thought that arises. You, as surfer, doesn't ride every wave that passes him. He waits for the one that he wants to ride. He waits for the one that makes sense to him. But the problem is that the undisciplined mind, that conscious mind, is like a brand new surfer trying to catch every wave. There's no way you're going to catch every wave, and every wave is not worth catching.
That's a really good analogy.
Thank you.
That was very helpful.
Thank you.
Kim basically said, and it was kind of going along with what you just said, that the quote she was talking about was, be still and know that I'm God, be still and know that I'm God, be still and know that, and just saying it over and over again. But she followed it up by saying, you can think of that quote as a whole, but those first two words are the hardest part, to just continue to say, be still, which I kind of agree with. Like, not only just saying out loud, be still, and trying to force yourself to be still, but kind of just meditating. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but
so can I jump in then?
Yeah, of course. That's
okay, good. So not that I'm trying to be disrespectful of you and step on your tongue, okay?
Sure.
But I do know where she's going with it, okay? So many times people try to force their mind to be still, right? Instead of returning to stillness. Now, okay, is it easier to build a home or return to your home? It's far easier to return to your home than build a home, right? And it's far quicker to return home than to build a home. And so start here. Have you ever been still? And some people might say, well, I don't think I have. Then have you ever been calm? Well, I think so. Then why don't you start there? Be calm. Okay. Be relaxed, right? Return to what you know is better than try to force, and your word was force, right? Be return to what you know. So for me, be still and know that I am God. I have been still, and I am still now, and I will be still again tonight, and I will be still tomorrow. And then I will be chaotic again also, because it's cyclical. And I know that. But I also know that since I've been still, I can return to stillness. So if you think of this concept of be still and know that I am God, you are in effect separating yourself, the light from the dark, the one suffering and struggling from the one at peace, the one that is negative and hurt and angry, and from the one who is compassionate and loving and gentle. Okay? And so when you say be still, what you're doing is, before you say it, you're returning to stillness. You're returning to calmness. You're returning to a state of relaxation. You're returning to a state of presence. You're returning to a state of awareness. You're returning to a state of gratitude and appreciation. You're returning first. And then when you return to the state, this state, when you return to this state, it's this state that says to the other state of you, be still and know that I am God. So it's not the all of you speaking to the all of you. It's a segmented piece of you speaking to a segmented piece of you, so that when it becomes still and accepts and knows that you are God, then you join as one unit. But when you experience a chaotic emotion from a calm energy, a chaotic energy from a calm emotion, right? You create separation, you pull them apart from each other. You let the chaos be over here, you let the calm be over here, and the calm reaches across the abyss, across the chasm, and it bridges the gap between peacefulness and chaos. And it says, be calm, be still, and know that you are loved. Be calm, be still, know that we are loved. Be calm, be still, know that we are loved. Be calm, be still, relax. It's okay. Know that everything will be fine. It's the same thing. It's the same conversation. But never make an effort to force yourself to become something. Never try to quiet the mind, but instead return to a place of stillness, return to a place of quiet, return to a space of calm, return to a space of peacefulness, return to a space of bliss or joy. Does this make sense?
That was awesome. I agree with Leon. He says that's a breakthrough moment, the idea of returning. PJ, I really appreciate it. And then Kim also made a good connection talking about how it connects with yoga. But I want to pivot real quick, because I could talk about this for another 2 hours, but I want to respect your time.
You do. Oh, no, I'm good, but thank you.
I love it. Let's go on ahead and talk about your current project. So this is mainly geared towards women, of course. However, you're still working on a way to connect it with men. But you have a project that is out right now called Learning to Love. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. When I was growing up with my disability, I didn't really know that I had a disability until 7th and 8th grade. And 7th and 8th grade puberty was really rough for me. My parents were getting a divorce. I think my average grade was a D. I couldn't walk in my leg braces anymore. I kept falling. I'd walk 20 feet and fall, 20 feet and fall. And my teachers and my principal were calling my mom and saying, you got to do something. The poor kid can't walk anymore. And my mom was like, he wants to try, so I'm not going to take it from him. I'm going to let him try. Well, at some point, I just couldn't do it anymore. And they put me into an electric wheelchair. So that was a really, really rough period of time for me. And that's when I became profoundly aware of my disability. And so what I realized was there was a period of time through high school and college where I heard people say, you got to learn to love yourself. And I was like, love yourself? Like, what does that even mean? Like, love yourself? How do you love yourself? Like, I like myself, I guess. I mean, I guess I'm kind of cool. I guess I'm okay. But love yourself? Like, I don't even know what that means. So I was, I moved out to Arizona in October of 1997. My spiritual teacher at the time said, I want you to, the very first night I was in Arizona, she said, I want you to go and go home tonight and pray and say, God, what is that you want me to do with my life? And then listen. And I said, sure, cool, I can do that. So I sat down, initiated a bit of meditation, started to pray. God, I believe I moved to Tucson for a reason. I'm not sure what that reason is, but I'll do whatever you tell me to do with my life. Just tell me what you'd like me to do. And then I got quiet, deeply, profoundly quiet. are you leaving still? And I just almost disappeared. And this pillar of golden light came through the ceiling, hit me in the top of the head, filled up my entire body with light, and I heard one word: love. And it was in that moment that I knew it didn't matter what I did with my life as long as I infused every conversation with love. And I thought, dude, that's easy. I've been loving since I was a kid. Like, as a motivational speaker, even as a boy, it was all about loving other people. And people would come up to me, even as a boy, they would come up and cry and be like, that was so moving. Thank you so much. I didn't realize, how good my life was. And, until I saw you, and thank you so much. You're such an inspiration. And I was doing the work when I was a boy, because, people were like, they were able to live in contrast. The universe is built on a contrast, right? And if we're built on a contrast, that means there's a choice. And every time you make a choice, you take action. And every time you take action, you have an experience. And when you have an experience, then there's an assessment. That assessment is, do I like it? Do I not like it? Do I want more? Do I want less? Do I want to do it again? Do I never want to do it again? That's contrast. So I find myself in that cyclical process again of being in contrast, where I make a choice. When I make a choice, I take action. When I take action, I have an experience. And then I find myself in that assessment or that contrast again. So I was their contrast. I was their mirror. I was given that opportunity for them to look at themselves. So I didn't understand this concept of loving myself, right? And so that was October of 97. I did that. I had that prayer. And then starting in January of 98, just a few months later, I started having visions of being hit by a car at a bus stop. And I was like, oh, great. This is exactly what I need, being hit by a car at a bus stop. So every time I was at a bus stop, because I don't drive, every time I'm at a bus stop, if I'm not riding with friends or family, I was watching oncoming traffic. Where do I sit? Do I sit behind the big concrete trash can? Do I sit behind the big metal frame? Do I sit way in front of the little bus stop seating area? Like, where do I sit? I have to be hyper vigilant. I can't take a nap at the bus stop while I'm waiting for the bus to roll up, right? Because I'm going to get hit. 3 months of this. And one day my friend drops me off. We'd gone to dinner, and I was like, hey, I got to go to martial arts class. And she's like, oh, cool, but I'm a little bit late. Are you okay if I drop you here? And I was like, yeah, it's like a mile. I can walk. I can push my wheelchair a mile. So she drops me off. She's like, all right, I love you. I'm like, I love you, because, that's what I do. And she's like, peace out. I'm like, deuces. We didn't really say back then. I'm just like being ridiculous, right? So I start pushing my chair the mile to my dojo. I'm literally a block away from the dojo, okay? 1 block away from the dojo. And I'm walking towards 3 lanes of oncoming traffic. I walk right by a bus stop. I see a big black SUV coming out of a Boston market, and I look at oncoming traffic. I think there's no way he's going to come out. I walk out in front of him, completely forgetting about my vision. He steps on the gas, hits me on my left side, throws me out into 3 lanes of traffic. I tuck and roll, and as I'm flying through the air, I have time enough to say, as I'm flying through the air, first I hear my wheelchair crumple underneath his SUV. So it's just metal upon metal, and it's literally popping and cracking and bending and torquing, and breaking. And as I'm flying through the air, I have time enough to pray, to say, God, whatever you do, please don't let him roll over my pelvis. I hit the blacktop, rolled over, and he came to rest. His front driver's side wheel came to rest, leaning on my pelvis. 2 more inches, he would have crushed my pelvis. And I happened to be fortunate enough that in that moment, there was an EMT team in the Boston market. They came running out, took care of me, picked me up, took me across the street to the hospital. Across the street to the hospital. I wasn't meant to die this day, because all of these things set me up to go into physical therapy for 4 months. The whole point, the crux of my story happens right here. 4 months into my physical therapy, I'm still in agonizing pain. I can't lift my arms. I can't sit up. I can't roll over. I can't sit in the bottom of the tub to shower because it hurts. I can't sit on the toilet because it hurts. I can't feed myself. I can't push my own chair. I can't work. I can't speak. I'm just struggling. Everything that I had was gone. And I didn't have much in the beginning. I couldn't lift my arms, and so I was already struggling. I already couldn't walk. I was already a skinny little dude in a wheelchair with a crazy curvature in his spine. I was already working at a gross disadvantage. And now for 4 months, I was in profound pain, and I couldn't move, and I couldn't work, and I couldn't speak. Dude, I was spiraling downwards. I was in bad shape. Like, I thought this was it. This was the end. And for the last day to be sitting there in my wheelchair in pain, with the physical therapist saying, PJ, I don't know what to tell you. We've tried electric stim on you. We've tried aquatherapy. We've tried massage. We've tried range of motion. We've done everything that we can think of to do. But because of the curvature of my spine, Jordan, and the tightness of my hip flexors, meaning if I lay on my stomach, my butt sticks up in the air because my hips are so tight and my back is so curved. So they can't fit me into an MRI or an X-ray machine very well to be able to like scan my hips, right? I don't know if MRI is just for the brain, but anyway, they can't get me into an X-ray machine to scan my hips. So the physical therapist said, PJ, I've tried everything. I've talked to all of my mentors. I've talked to my teachers. I've looked at all of my books. I've looked at all the medical journals. I don't know why you're in pain. He said, I did talk to one of my mentors, and he said, well, it sounds like the only thing you haven't done is palpate his pubic bone to see if maybe it got popped out of place. The most basic thing that you ever could have done. And he's like, I can't believe I didn't think of that. He's like, I did look at the x-rays as best as I could, but I forgot that he couldn't fit in the machine very well, so we never had a really good shot. He palpates my pubic bone. Sure enough, my right pubic bone is popped out of joint just a little bit. He's like, this is going to hurt. Now look, this is what I want people to understand. This is a metaphor for life. Sometimes you have to step into the pain, right? Because freedom exists where commitment persists, okay? Freedom exists where commitment persists. And so he grabs a hold of that pelvic bone. And he goes, this is going to hurt. Pop! Wah! Yeah, buddy, that hurt. Ooh, doggies. I was pretty sure I was going to walk that day. Pop right through the pain. But the moment I was on the other side of that pain, brother, the moment I was on the other side of that pain, all of a sudden I was free. I could hear the birds sing. I could see the sunshine. I could feel the warmth on my skin. I could breathe again. I could sit up. I promptly sat up on the hospital table, not the hospital, but the doctor's table, right? The doctor's office table. I sat up, no pain. I climbed from the elevated doctor's table, jumped down into my chair, bump, bounced. Wow, it feels amazing. All of a sudden, like I'm welled up. I might even cry right now. I welled up with this overwhelming sense of appreciation for the life that I finally had. Because I had not, up to this point, I had not taken advantage of. I had taken advantage of, let me rephrase it. I had not appreciated the life that I had, that I was not in pain, despite my disability, I was living a remarkable life. And the moment that I lost it, all I could do is spiral down and think about what I did not have. And the moment that he popped me back into alignment, listen to that word, the moment that I was popped back into alignment, that's what a coach does for you sometimes, right? That's what a good spiritual teacher does for you sometimes. That's what a good book does for you sometimes. That's what a walk in nature does for you sometimes, right? So if you're looking for stillness, if that was the question a while ago, go for a run, go for a walk in nature, journal, go paint, go draw, find something that gets you so completely and profoundly absorbed in it that everything else washes away. That's stillness. That's meditation. Not just sitting there going, oh, money, pame, oh, money, pame, oh, money, pame. That's meditation too, but it may not be your form. So he pops my hip back into place. I voluntarily went through the pain because everything else had failed, right? We had chipped away, like Michelangelo, had chipped away everything else that did not work and then popped it into place, realigned myself. Once I was realigned, I was realigned, okay? And I mean spiritually, all of a sudden I was overwhelmed with a sense of appreciation. And when you fill with appreciation, appreciation is the internal like and dislike, the internal assessment of the things that are coming into you, that whether it's food, energy, romance, love, relationship, anything that's coming into you or that's currently in you, even a thought, you assess that. Appreciation, right, originally comes from this idea of appraising something, to like or dislike something, to set a value for something, right? So when you appreciate, when you get filled with so much appreciation and it spills out of you, it becomes gratitude. And when you get so filled with gratitude, it becomes love. And when you get so filled with love, you learn to let go of more. The more you let go of, the more open you become, the more open you become, the more aware you are, the more aware you are, the more appreciative you are, the more appreciative you are, the more grateful you are, the more grateful you are, the more you love, the more you love, the more you let go, the more you let go, the more you're open, the more you're aware, the more appreciative, the more grateful, the more you love. It's a cycle. And so in that one moment of voluntarily pushing myself through the pain or allowing myself to be helped through the pain and supported through the pain, pop on the other side of that was pure freedom. Freedom exists where commitment persists. My doctor and myself and my mom were not willing to quit. We were going to find a way, and damn well we did find a way. And that's where the freedom comes. And that's how I learned to love myself. Because in that moment, I realized that message 10 months earlier with the pillar of light coming through and filling me up and saying love, it wasn't about PJ, go out and love other people. You're already doing that. It was about PJ, learn to love and appreciate your life and be grateful for what you have so you can then teach other people how to do that. And so this course that I teach, Learning to Love, works with people to help them learn to love themselves and become the best version of themselves that they want to be, and learn to let go of the limiting beliefs, release the resistance, and overcome your obstacles. That was a long way to explain it, but I had to tell the story.
I'm glad you did. It was really good. And I learned a lot from it. It's just, wow. PJ, I don't even know what to say right now. I don't have words because you're so powerful. Every story you tell, every analogy you use, just you talking. I'm literally just sitting here wondering why I did not bring a notebook with me to take notes. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this.
Thank you. I'm really honored. Thank you.
Really appreciate you guys. For those of you watching live right now, or those of you watching the replay, all this stuff's going to be linked down below. You can probably see it right now if you're watching the replay. Please go check it out. Sign up for PJ's class. You will not regret it. Go follow him on Facebook. He's posting, like he said, every time he does a meditation. He's doing this. How many days is it?
So it's 100-day power meditation gone. So tonight is day 21. And up to this point, I've already meditated 23 or 24 hours because I'm finding that an hour I'm just dipping into it so quickly that once I'm in the hour, I want to go for another hour, another half an hour, another hour. And so what's happening is I'm starting to lose myself a little bit. And so I'm having to pull myself out. And there's some real value in that, but there's also the process of losing yourself. Another really quick story. One of the very first experiences that I had with a Tibetan meditation teacher. This guy used to be a Tibetan monk. I don't know if he was actually a monk or not, but he was studying with a Tibetan monk, and he committed to meditate 4 or 5 hours a day, and the rest of the time he was studying or working or whatever. And he was a chef, and he happened to look over at one point, a cook, I guess. He happened to look over at one point and realized that his arm was in the boiling pot of oil. And he was doing something, and he was like, oh, my arm is wet. And he looked over, and it was in a boiling pot of oil. And he's like, uh-oh. And he pulled it out, and he wiped it off, and he was not burned at all. Boiling pot of oil. That's when he said, okay, I'm not very connected to my physical body, my body right now. I think I need to maybe pull back a little on my meditation. And what I'm finding is my meditation is revealing a lot to me, but I'm also starting to lose myself in the meditation. So I'm still playing with that a little bit to see what the fine balance is. So it's really fun. I've been meditating for 30 years, but I've never committed to meditating every day for an hour minimum in a row. It's usually like, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes. Some days it's an hour. Other days it's 3 minutes. It's a little inconsistent. Sometimes in the morning, maybe in the afternoon, right? But this is consistently in the evenings, minimum an hour, often rolling over into an hour and a half.
I love it. Guys, definitely go check it out. I've watched several of your videos after you finish meditating. It's powerful, powerful stuff, just like today. But PJ, I do want to respect your time. So I'm going to ask you the last question that I ask everybody that's on this show. Sure. And I know that you could probably give me 100 different answers for this question, but is there anything that's on your heart or on your mind right now that you really want people to know about? And this can either be about you, another person, a cause, or anything else.
Do you mind if I close my eyes for a minute and just take a moment?
Sure.
Okay. Give me just 1 minute. Because I want it to come through me, not from me. So give me a minute, please. I'm going to repeat my favorite quote. God is the breath within the breath. That's what I want people to know. God is the breath within the breath. So as you begin to meditate, as you begin to become consciously aware of your breathing, even if you're out on a walk, and you're actually intentionally inhaling and appreciating that inhalation, and pausing and exhaling and appreciating that exhalation. When you realize that this breath that's coming in and this breath that's going out that the core of that, the infusion within that, is the divine presence, and that there is no real separation from you. You are breathing you in. You are God breathing in God. And that quote has always been one of the most beautiful quotes to me. God is the breath within the breath. Now, actually, I'd like to leave you with one more quote, because this is beautiful too. And I forget who said it, but it says, God spoke to me today in flowers, and I, who's waiting to hear the sound of his voice, almost missed the message. God spoke to me today in flowers, and I, who was waiting to hear the sound of his voice, almost missed the message. So I leave you with this. The universe, divinity, pure potential energy is never not talking to you. The universe, God, is always talking to you. The question is, are you listening?
Wow. PJ, thank you so much for being on and sharing your time with us, your knowledge with us, your wisdom with us. For those of you that have watched the replay or you're watching live right now, please, please go follow him. I'll have all the links down below. Support PJ, shower him with your love, because trust me, you are going to get nothing but that in return, times 1,000-fold. And go watch his Thrive video. I have it posted on my personal page. If you have not seen that yet, it is some of the best 20 minutes you'll ever see in your life. But PJ, thank you so much, sir. Before I go on ahead and click end broadcast, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Jordan, thank you very much. I love the Embrace the Chase, because if you guys really think about what that is, it's not the end result, right? It's the path. It's the process. So embrace the process. Don't cry about not being there. Recognize that you live in our abundance, and the universe will deliver abundance in whatever form that you want it. If you want to talk about scarcity, it'll give you lots of scarcity. If you want to recognize and appreciate abundance, it's there. But remember, it's not about the end result. It's about the presence. And that's what the chase is. Being present in the moment. Embrace the presence.
I love it. PJ, I appreciate you, brother. Love to have you in the future. And I cannot wait to see you at Thrive. You guys all have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next time.
All right. I love you guys. Bye.